Now, at this time, we're bringing on our guest, Garth Michael Patrick from the Sports Box. Garth, how are you doing tonight, my friend? I know it's very tough to talk about this. It's a very sensitive topic for you as a Lightning fan, but congratulations on an outstanding season and a valiant effort at being potential three-peat champions.
Yeah, really excited to be on here with you guys tonight to talk hockey. Would obviously be even more excited if my Tampa Bay Lightning had pulled it off. But like you said, Tom, definitely a valiant effort as the feelings have kind of gone to the wayside. I've got to process and really just appreciate what I've gotten to see out of the Tampa Bay Lightning for the past 3 seasons. I've started to shift gears more towards I can be thankful and not really disappointed that we were able to do what we did. Um, like I said, I would definitely be more excited if they had pulled it off. But, I'm really, really proud of these guys. One thing that I was saying I hope came out before we got on tonight was the injury report. And it was absolutely both sides had injuries, obviously. All teams are beat up by this point. But, man, the Lightning's injury report was bad, guys. There was a lot of guys who should not even have been out there, but they were fighting tooth and nail to try and pull off that three-peat.
I'd like to think the Rangers did a number on you guys in the conference finals just to even get to one more round, but that's probably just my own, ego as a Ranger fan talking there. But nonetheless, Garth, it's been fun messaging you back and forth through Facebook over the course of these playoffs. And even as our teams cross paths, which it's funny, you and I kind of like jokingly said, imagine if that happened. And look what happened. Like they crossed paths. I was hoping to see you in Tampa, but unfortunately let's just say there were circumstances that prevented that from happening. But I'm glad you're feeling better right now, like health wise. And yeah, I totally feel you right there. You should definitely tip your cap, I guess, literally and figuratively, for the Tampa Bay Lightning, a special run that they had and all that talent. It's amazing how many Hall of Famers you have on that team. Incredible.
Garth, speaking of the injury report, let's post it up here so that people can see what Tampa Bay really had to deal with. Here it is. Yikes. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous that the Lightning were able to take the Avs to Game 6 with this injury report. Kucherov and Braden Point, obviously two of the bigger names on here. McDonough as well with the finger issue. Nick Paul, Hagel, Cirelli. I mean, Cirelli had two different injuries at once, but my gosh. Garth, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, Cirelli also had his hand cut. I forget which game specifically, but fell to the ice, kind of an awkward tangle up, and he actually had his hand cut by a skate, had to get that stitched. So that didn't make things any easier either. Like I said, guys, it kind of makes me appreciate what I've seen out of this team so much, because I think that's what we've seen with the Tampa Bay Lightning in these past 3 runs is every time it looked like a team might have their number, might be, able to win a series on them, despite the circumstances, they were always able to find a way to come back and to win games and take series back over. Obviously, they fell short doing that with the Colorado Avalanche, but before that, they were able to do it with everybody that they faced. It just speaks volumes about this team's character and heart, and how much I always say this to my co-host on the Sweet Tea Show, Noah. There's so much talent on this roster, but the thing is, none of these players are like out there hunting individual accolades. They just all play that team first mentality, and I think that's why we've seen them, go on this run that they've had.
Yeah, and to your point, I think the difference wasn't much in this series. A lot of people thought the Lightning, were going to get boat raced. Pardon my French there, but I mean, you look at 2 of the Lightning losses in this series, they came in overtime, right? We're talking about Game 5 and then Game 1. Game 1, they lost 4-3. Burakovsky had the game winner. And then in Game 5, the Lightning win 3-2. Palat scores the game-winning goal. The game I was referring to that they lost in OT was Game 4, where Kadri had the game winner, and then Kemper had 37 saves that night. He was absolutely insane. So the way the series went, the Avs went up 2-0. And realistically, in game two, when Cale Makar scored those 2 goals, you kind of had a feeling he was, on. The Lightning were on. That 7-0 win. I mean, Garth, just walk me through your thought process after game two, losing 7-0. Where was your head at? Were you like, this isn't looking good? Or, let's just win the next 2 at home?
Yeah, so honestly, the Tampa Bay Lightning is like the one sports team that I don't really get too panicked with. Obviously it wasn't a good place to be in, and in no way did I want us to lose those first 2 games. But, I definitely wasn't I wasn't tossing them to the wayside thinking that there was no way in hell they could win the series, even when some other Lightning fans I know were saying that. They're like, oh man, the season's over. Let's just get to next year already. But I knew, going back to Tampa, which other than this series, we were extremely good at playing at home. I think we went into that game 3 with like 8 or 9 straight home wins. And me personally, having gone to Emily, I know how good of a home ice advantage that place is. It's absolutely insane. So, I felt pretty comfortable that we could tie the series up at 2-2. And then from there, it was anybody's game, much like, it was kind of like deja vu of that series with the Rangers. We lose 2. We do not look like the team that everybody's used to seeing. And, I had a feeling in that series too, like, hey, the Lightning are going to find a way to get themselves back into the series. They can tie it up at home. Anything's possible. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. We went down 3-1, and that's when panic started to set in a little bit more. We did win that one game to get it to 3-2, and then, that terrible game 6 where, it looked really good most of the way, and then late it slipped away.
Yeah. And Hank, I do want your thoughts on this too, but like Garth just alluded to, the Lightning, they come back in game 3, they win 6-2, score 4 goals in the second. They lose in OT game 4, as we mentioned, win game 5 in OT. Was there ever a point that you thought, hey, the Lightning are going to come back and take this, or did you feel that Colorado was going to win this throughout?
This series to me kind of felt different than the conference finals, just because, like, look, when the Rangers played them and they were like up 2-0, like, I said this on Blue Truth, and I said this with you, Tom. After game 2 really should have been the warning sign that you knew the Lightning were going to come back, just because the Rangers, like, essentially they held on for dear life just to win that game. And that with the 7-0 loss, that was when I realized, oof, Colorado's like a better team than like anyone they've played like throughout the playoffs, with the possible exception of maybe the Toronto Maple Leafs, like challenge wise. So yeah, I thought that I knew that they would at least put up a fight. Like, you knew they were not going to go down 3-0, especially with game 3 being at home, because one of my biggest cliches is you're never really in danger until you lose a home game. And the Lightning did what they had to do in game 3. But really, for me, what decided the series was the controversial call in game 4, where they gave the goal to Kadri, but then obviously there were too many men on the ice. And look, it doesn't matter that the 7th guy was nowhere near the puck when the goal was scored. The fact of the matter is, if there's too many men on the ice, it shouldn't count. So even as someone who really didn't have a dog in that fight, like, I personally thought the Lightning got jobbed in that game. However, with that being said, let's not kid ourselves. The Lightning were the better team. Like, maybe not goalie wise, but if we're talking about like purely skilled players at this point, Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, need I say more?
Yeah, Garth, what did you think of Vasi in this series? Because obviously after game 2, 7-0, Vasi seemed to regain his footing a little bit. It's typical for your average goalie to just fall over at that point and not be able to show any resistance in the preceding games. But I mean, after game 2, Vasi played a lot better. And I think it was a whole defensive effort for the team as well. It wasn't just him. Like, he wasn't the sole reason why 7 goals found the back of the net in game 2.
Yeah, I agree, Tom. I think it was in part Vasi just settling into the series. We kind of saw it all playoffs, honestly, in every series where like the first 2 games, sometimes even the first 3 games in series, he didn't really quite look like the Vasi that we've gotten so used to seeing in the previous 2 cup runs. But by that third or fourth game, he looked back to himself. So he kind of did the same thing in this series where it took him a couple games to adjust. But definitely the defense stepped up. They were, just kind of letting them skate up and down the ice freely. They weren't really trying to congest passing lanes. And, they're basically letting the Colorado Avalanche get into the zone and then deciding to play defense. And, when you do that, at least from what I've seen with this team, is basically you're on a power play essentially the whole entire game. And you don't end up creating good offensive possessions for yourself either, because a lot of scoring chances come off of stealing the puck in center ice. But yeah, the defense definitely stepped it up. It looked like overall just a lot more effort. Those first 2 games, we kind of looked like, there was I hate to use the term because it's so hard to tell, with players when you're not physically out there. But those first 2 games, it really just looked like we lacked effort and intensity. And collectively everybody stepped up. One other thing that I will say in this series with Vasi specifically that I have literally never seen, at least in my time watching hockey, is in the course of 2 games, he let up 3 goals, which in my opinion, none of them were really on him because they all deflected off of skates. Like he made the save, the puck kicked out, hit somebody's skate perfectly to go to like the opposite side of the net that he was on and go in. And those were tough. And in both of those games, there were huge goals that either tied it or took the lead for the Colorado Avalanche. So, and then, one other thing too, both of you guys touched on it with the too many men on the ice. I think that looking back at this series, digesting everything that happened, I personally, and I'm like the last one to critique officiating or blame games on refs, anything like that. But I think not only just for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but on both sides, the officiating was really bad this series. A lot of missed calls where they just did not call things at all that were blatant penalties on both sides. Or a lot of things that they called that you were like, I don't even understand why they really called that when they're letting stuff that's way worse go to the wayside. So, I was hoping that the NHL would acknowledge it. You can't change outcomes of games, but it'd be nice to see that they kind of hold their officiating to a standard. They didn't, but it is what it is. You can't change the outcome of games at this point.
It is very unfortunate that it ended the way it did, but at the same time, I think Colorado just was slightly better in this series. We do have a couple comments. Johnny Montalbano from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina says, hello. Hey, guys. Have a safe and happy 4th. LGR. Let's go Yankees, Big Blue, and New York Knicks. Yeah, I think, Hank, you're 4 for 4 with Johnny. I'm 2 of 4 with Johnny.
Yes, I am.
Garth is 0 for 4 with Johnny.
I will say, though, as a young kid, I did like the Knicks a lot. I wouldn't call myself a fan, but I definitely rooted for Carmelo Anthony specifically. And Pablo Prigioni is my favorite NBA rookie of all time. Fun fact.
That's awesome.
I remember that. That was probably the last good Knick team we had. And though I'll be honest, I'm not as big a Knick fan as like say the Yankees and the Rangers and the G-men, but like I definitely like them. If they ever win a title in my lifetime, that would be a pretty big deal.
And Hank, a comment from your mother. Happy Wednesday. You guys are great.
Thank you so much, Mom. I always appreciate you tuning into our shows. You are the absolute best.
Absolutely. And we can't have these shows without the fans, right? Appreciate all the comments coming from everybody. Make sure to drop the comments that you have, any questions for us. And Hank, I'm still going to give you a little bit of shit because there's no Big Blue in the background. It's all Rangers and Yanks. Maybe it's just the angling of the room. Yes, I know what you're going to say. My Giant stuff is still back in Westchester. That's the excuse you're going to make, right?
Well, I do have my Carl Banks jersey somewhere in this room.
Well, that's something. I'll give you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I'm not even in my own room, and there's still Giants apparel in my back.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, where's your decorations in the background?
Giants fan parking only, don't you see? It's right behind me.
Besides that, though.
I'm not in my room.
Okay, fair.
But Cale Makar winning the Conn Smythe. Garth, what do you think of Cale Makar, and do you think he deserved this honor?
Absolute stud, guys, especially for his age. What's funny is I don't know if you guys saw it, but I think McKinnon was doing like a podcast or interview or something. It came out kind of in the middle of the Stanley Cup Finals. He said that when they drafted him, he was, I don't know if furious is the right word, but he definitely was not happy that they took him because they thought that, he was going to amount to nothing. And that I want to say it's like the KHJL or something like that. Hopefully I didn't butcher it. The league that he came from basically didn't produce any players, noteworthy. So it's kind of funny and ironic to see how he's panned out. But yeah, what a stretch of hockey for him, guys. You guys talked about it when I was waiting in the background about winning the Calder. And then this year, obviously, the Norris and the Conn Smythe and a Stanley Cup. And I think he's only 23 with a lot of hockey ahead of him. My biggest takeaways, though, from watching this guy in person is not only is he talented on the defensive end, but he is so good with the puck in his hands. I've been fortunate enough to have Victor Hedman, who's also pretty darn good on the offensive end of things. But, man, Cale Makar is such a gifted skater. He's like so fast and elusive on the ice. It's not fair for a defenseman to be, as good with the puck as he is.
Absolutely. He was outstanding. And now switching gears towards the offseason a little bit with the Lightning, not too many pending free agents. I mean, the biggest names that I was able to research of note are Andre Palat, Nick Paul, and then Ruda. Is there anyone else I'm missing there that's significant for this year? I know you have a bunch of guys coming up next year, but as far as this year goes, I think most of the team is pretty much set in stone to come back.
Yeah, so most of the roster, is still under contract. Riley Nash is another guy who's going to be coming up as a free agent. He didn't really play much for us this year. He got called up essentially because of the fact that Braden Point had that injury, and the whole 11 forwards and 7 defensemen was not working for us. We had to change things up there. But really, the biggest thing for the Lightning this offseason is the fact that they do have a few guys that they need to try to retain or at least go out and sign somebody. But cap is a major issue. We're like 1.9 million over right now. And unfortunately, a lot of those guys, those few guys that are free agents aren't going to be freeing up a ton of cap. They're all pretty much on, other than Palat, they're on really cheap, kind of 1-year deals. I know myself and, it's starting to seem like a consensus opinion in the Tampa Bay Lightning fan base is we would like to see the Lightning try and move Alex Killorn because he's set to make like $4.5 million this year. Had a fantastic career for us, one of the fan favorite guys. I'm going to hate to see him go, but from a business standpoint, a team standpoint, it doesn't really make much sense. His production, is kind of steadily starting to decrease. He's getting up there in age. And, I think the biggest selling point for me was this offseason that he had literally 0 goals, and I think he only had like 2 or 3 points. We for next year to make another run at the Cup, we need more scoring, honestly. It was pretty much all our top line. We had a lot of guys who played good on like the defensive side of things, but scoring was literally, like Stamkos, Kuch, and Palat, the 3 top line guys. And after that, it fell off drastically. So, I'd like to see us keep Paul. Ruda, I'm a big fan of him, but we do have Cal Foote, a guy that I'm a huge, huge fan of. His dad actually was a Hall of Famer and Stanley Cup champion for the Avalanche. So I wouldn't be mad with letting him go. Bogosian will probably go as well. So, a few guys I would like to keep, guys. But cap is a big issue for this team this offseason.
Hank, anything you want to add here on Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think we'll see how they're going to be able to manage the salary cap, but once again, gotta tip my cap off to the Lightning. Like, I know as a Ranger fan, I shouldn't really like them all too much. And look, I'm not really like in the like or dislike area with the Tampa Bay Lightning, but if anything, I just have nothing but respect for that team. They have built their team the right way over the years, and I'm sure they'll probably figure out a way to insert Foot into the lineup, but Breezeball's done pretty much a good job at picking up where Stevie Y left off and essentially finishing the job. And hey, I'm sure next year I would not be surprised if somehow our paths cross yet again in the playoffs. But Garth, hopefully this time around, hopefully you're going to be healthy enough for us to like reunite. Maybe not like so much a playoff game, but if I ever fly down there for like any Rangers Lightning game, because in my honest opinion, Amalie Arena is actually one of my favorite places where I've seen the Rangers play on the road, believe it or not. I would love to meet up with you, have a good beer or two at Cask and the Lion. Would be lit.
Yeah, most definitely, man. It really sucks that didn't work out because I was really looking forward to that. But the good news is we always have this coming season. And we probably will face off in playoffs next year, if things continue next season how they were this year.
Well, hey, maybe I'll probably see them like when the Yankees go down there for spring training. So who knows?
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah. And Hank, again, I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but let's just say if the Rangers didn't exist, would we be Tampa Bay Lightning fans? Because I probably would be.
I don't know.
He hates this question.
I know you guys wouldn't be Isles fans.
Hell no. Hank would probably go Buffalo Sabres.
Sorry. No, like see that background in my room? That's the only team that really matters to me. So yeah, I hate that question.
100%. He hates the question, but let's go Rangers. Let's go Lightning. Congratulations to the Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup Final. Garth, anything you want to add here? And if you can plug your weekly sports show on the Sports Box.
Yeah, most definitely. So me and my great friend outside of the show, Noah Dog Deibler, as I like to call him. He is a big Georgia Bulldog fan, and we bicker about that quite often with me being a Florida Gator fan. But we co-host the Sweet Tea Show together through the Sports Box platform here on Facebook. Usually every Friday night, every so often, just like anybody, we fall off and take a week or two off, especially this time of the year with college football kind of being dead until the season starts. But most Friday nights, you can find us here live on Facebook at 9 p.m., both through our personal page for the Sweet Tea Show as well as on the Sports Box page as well. And we also stream to Twitter as well, the Sports Box at the Sports Box on Twitter. But yeah, if there's anybody in here that really enjoys college football, we also throw some other random things in there from time to time, like some motorsports. Me and Noah are big Formula One fans. Definitely some NFL as well, but definitely, college football is kind of like our specialty, at least over there on the Sweet Tea Show. So if you guys could check us out any Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, live here on Facebook at the Sweet Tea Show at the Sports Box.
Absolutely. You can see it there scrolling across the ticker. Make sure to give their Facebook page a like as well. Garth and Noah are awesome dudes. And I'm looking forward to America's biggest cocktail party.
Yeah, Tom will be joining our kind of collective group trip to Jacksonville this fall, weekend of Halloween.
Oh, yeah. That is going to be fun. You guys got to take lots and lots of pictures for that.
We're also going to be having lots and lots of fun. I'll tell you that much. It's going to be party central that weekend.
Probably right, the best part of the whole thing, Hank, will be you're going to see like 70,000 people all with either red and black and orange or blue. And then Tom will be the one person there with the ND gear on.
That's awesome. I love it.
All right, Garth. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Appreciate you as always, and best of luck to your Lightning in the off season. And I will talk to you very, very soon.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Like I said, it would be much better if my Tampa Bay Lightning had won, but nonetheless, I had a really good time tonight. Love coming out with you guys. Go Lightning, and I'll say it for your guys' sake, go Rangers as well, because I don't hold any ill will against you guys. Definitely root for you guys as long as it's not against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But yeah, thank you guys for having me tonight.
Thank you, Garth. Appreciate it.